IMTV Velocities and Music. Tonight, guys, we're filming at night, the night before the Super Bowl. Go Packers. Thank you guys for watching. We're excited to still be here, still reviewing some music, and to kick off tonight's set of 10 that we're gonna review. We're gonna do the Braids, native speaker. The Braids are a brand new band. They're not really new. Some tracks have been floating around for a long time, and there's a lot of hype about the Braids. A lot of people are talking about the Braids, wouldn't you say, Tom?
From what I've heard, yeah.
And this is a band from Canada, and this is their debut album, Native Speaker. But Tom, what was your reaction to listening to Native Speaker?
First thing I thought, okay, to me, this sounds like if Panda Bear or Animal Collective, but I think you were right when you said closer to Panda Bear.
Right.
Panda Bear, if he was a girl and was backed by like guitar, bass, and drums rather than a bunch of like weird samples, well, and synth. But really, I mean, they use the instruments to create an ambient mood,
right?
But you can still tell that they're real instruments.
Right.
It's definitely very different.
There's also a lot of like Glasser, even memory tapes, kind of a chill wave vibe.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But really, I mean, the first thing that struck me is the vocalist, right. and I think that it's just, you can't ignore this vocalist. She just takes you and just slaps you around the entire album. She has so much control over her voice, and she's a very good match with the instrumentalists in this band because just the control over the tension that they move throughout the songs. I mean, this album's only 7 tracks long, but there's some pretty long tracks on here. And through the whole thing, they'll just build tension, release it, kind of let it calm back down. And the way that they do that together between the instruments and the vocals is just masterful. It's very well executed.
And I'm gonna go ahead and get my single criticism of this album out of the way, and that's, while I love the vocals, and that's one of the things I wrote down as a strength of Native Speaker is just how, exactly what Tom said, how awesome the vocalist is throughout the album. I think that the production around the vocals sometimes, and you guys out there, if you've listened to Native Speaker at all, let me know if you agree with me. But I kind of get this vibe sometimes that it's not lining up. Like the way they produce the vocals actually kind of makes the vocals at times, especially when she's belting out a note, kind of sound a little off key. And that's something that it's a little bothersome to me. But in the end, when I think of what the context of what the vocalist and what the Braids are doing with the vocals to control the sound, it doesn't faze me that much. And this is such a minor criticism when it comes down to the fact that I just absolutely adored this album. This is my first loved album of 2011. I'm super pumped up about this. I've listened to this album over 10 times in the past 2 weeks. I mean, I can't stop listening to it. I love this album. And I think Tom has made some very good points about comparing it to Panda Bear, Glasser, Memory Tapes, but more so than any of these bands, which I think Memory Tapes is more structured, Animal Collective is more weird, Panda Bear is more atmosphere related and production oriented, where the Braids are just making good songs in a way that you really never heard good songs being created before, because they're whipping your ears with their just masterful ability of writing songs. And the way that they just bring on these waves of intensity, whether it's bringing in sound effects or guitars or synths or just the vocals themselves, it is beautiful how they just attack you. Now, what really made me realize that Native Speaker is such a good album is the fact of how well albumized it is. And the first time that I was kind of awestruck was the first time I heard track 5. And I'm not going to pronounce it because I'll slaughter it, but it's Lammicken or something like that. I don't know how you say it, but I apologize if I slaughtered it. But that song is the moody climax of the album. The whole album is building up to this point where here you have this epic mood bomb that to me makes the album. It cements it as just this fantastic piece because it's a statement. And the whole album is kind of just shaped to hit to this colossal point, and then they have a couple tracks on the back end that really kind of smooth the whole thing out, and it's just a perfect audio experience. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I am very impressed by this album, and this is a band that I say, if you like Glasser, if you like Animal Collective, Panda Bear, Memory Tapes, even I'd go as far to say Crystal Castles, go check out the Braids, because this is something that you need to hear.
I totally agree, and you hit it right on when you said that track 5 is really the climax. Everything after that is like dessert. But that was like the main course before then, and then they just give you some more goodness to go off of. But it's almost like cool down time, because if they ended it on that track 5, you'd just be like,
yeah, that song, like, I had to listen to it multiple times in a row the first time I heard it, because when I heard it, I mean, it was just how they just packed all this intensity into a 4 or 5 minute time frame was just incredible. I've never heard somebody do that effectively. I mean, even Radiohead, and that's what I think makes Radiohead such a good band, is that they do this on a regular basis. But I mean, I've never heard something that moving before.
Yeah.
Like, it was incredible.
It's very good. One thing also I want to point out is I love the fact that on this album, track 7, Little Hand, they end it with an instrumental closer.
Right.
Because I feel like for the first 6 tracks, majority of the album, the vocals are so much stealing the focus. And not in a bad way. I mean, the vocalist performances is so good, she kind of deserves to be the spotlight.
That's their game plan.
Yeah, but the instrumentals have been backing her up very well if you pay attention to them. But I like that when you get to track 7, it's almost like you can just picture her at track 6, just throwing the mic down, saying, "Screw it, you guys finish this up." And they do it, and they do it wonderfully. And it's like they come back in and prove that we're not just here to back her up, we kick ass. And they do.
Yeah, and the way I've kind of come to describe this album is it when you're listening to it, it makes you feel like you're daydreaming, and it's almost unavoidable, the fact that you're just going to be swept away by this album, I think. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think out there. So I want to know if this, you're getting a very positive reaction from Velocities and Music, but are you guys reciprocating that? Do you feel like this album is as good as we're saying it is? And have you heard these tracks before? Where do you think these guys are going? Because this is a band, since this is their debut album, I always get super excited when bands have good debut albums, because it says a lot about where they can go. So I want your guys' information, what you think, what are your thoughts? So let us know at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Tom, I'm feeling a 90 on this one, buddy.
I'm gonna go
90.
I'm gonna go 82.
82. So very, very good score from Velocities is what we normally give, but give us your feedback. We want to know what you think. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are Velocities and Music, BIMTV, moving music critique forward.